Went and did my entire video and I forgot to hit record. You've got to be kidding me. The Sony a6000 versus the A9 again? Stay tuned to find out. If you're new to my channel and you're finding it for the first time, I go by That One Camera Guy. I make videos, tutorials, guides, and reviews on the Sony mirrorless system. If you'd like to catch the latest content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell when I produce content every single week on my channel. And my old subscribers, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that like button and let's go ahead and get started. What is good, YouTube? It's That One Camera Guy back at it again with another video for you. In this episode, I talked about my experience using the a6000 and the A9, day 2 shooting at the Philippine Weekend Festival Parade on Sunday, and focusing on shooting cultural dance performances. Now, the difference with this video, if you haven't seen the last one, make sure you check it out. The difference between that one and this one is that I switched the lenses out. Now, when I was shooting in the downtown parade on Saturday, I was specifically using the budget lens for the Sony a6000. I was using the 55-210 and the 70-300 on my Sony A9. Now, that is a very budget-friendly lens, $200. We went and shot with it. And hold and behold, we started to see some of the issues with that lens. I just wasn't super happy with the results that I got of it. Some shots were okay, some not so good. So it really depends on what's important to you. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna do day 2. I'm gonna go back out there. We're gonna go to the park and shoot some cross-cultural performances. People are gonna start moving around, dancing and all that stuff. But I'm gonna switch the lens out. And so I decided to pair it up with the 70-200 f4 full frame E-mount lens, okay? Very good lens, highly recommend it. That's what I decided to do, so I paired it with the a6000. For whatever reason, I said I'm gonna bring the A9 anyway because it's a new toy for me. I'm trying it out, I'm still using it, it's still brand new to me. I paired it with the 70-200 G Master. Now, if you consider the price tag for both of these combinations, the a6000 is roughly, I don't know, $500 US, and then the lens like $1,200 or so, might be a little bit more. Let's just say you're paying about $1,700, $1,800 US dollars for the kit that I brought with me. And then $4,500 plus 26. Let's just say you're looking at $7,000 kit with the Sony A9 and the 70-200 G Master. I want to stress to you guys about this test. I'm not doing a one-to-one comparison. I'm not trying to say one lens is better or not. I'm just showing you the experience it was like, the quality that I got out of the shots, and what the results were. That's the whole point of the exercise. If I wanted to test out the 70-200 f4 on both of these bodies, then I would need two 70-200 f4s, which I don't have. But the goal is I want to pair the camera with a lens that makes sense for it. People that are going to get the A9 might get the G Master. People that get the a6000 are probably going to get the kit lens, the 55-210, or maybe step up to the 70-200 f4, which are all very reasonable situations. So that's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to redeem the a6000 after the parade, and I wanted to show that you can still get some really great results. Let's talk about heat first of all. It was very, very hot out there at the festivities, the cultural dances. Now, most of the performers, well, maybe, you know, a fourth of them performed underneath this tent, okay? So it wasn't super, super hot. Well, I take that back. It was about 100 degrees. And like I said, Central Valley heat with that 100 degrees. If you've ever felt that heat, you can just feel that heat weigh down on you. That's how hot it gets where I'm from. So most of the performances were in the shade, so some of them were in the shade, so I went to the shade area and shot photos there. Then when they were out in the lawn area where it was direct sunlight, and I feel so bad for these kids, I really do give them a lot of props for performing out there. It was over 100 degrees. I was in the sun too. Good thing I had some sunscreen, I put some on, made sure I was ready to go. So I was out in direct sunlight. Crazy thing, I do a lot of B-roll with my Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. This overheated. It stopped the recording, okay? But what's really good, the a6000 and the A9 did not stop recording. They kept going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny. I will have to tell you, and I know people hate this, the A9 did get the overheating indicator to come onto the camera, as you can see in the B-roll footage that I shot. And people are gonna say, I'm cooking the camera. He's cooking the camera. I'm like, well, I'm using the camera in an environment where people are at, so I expect the camera to work. Now, it didn't shut down. It didn't stop working. And like what I said from prior experience, the battery grip tends to mitigate the heat problem that I experienced, but the camera kept going. But in the back of my mind, I kind of had that little feeling like, I'm kind of worried it might shut down on me. That's the heat situation. Now let's go to the image quality. Images on this camera with the a6000 and the 70-200 f4, beautiful, sharp, really loved it. The autofocusing was very good with the lens. It hit its target most of the time, and when it got it, looked really, really good. A9, well, if you compare A9 or even a full frame camera to an aps-c, you're always going to see this different look to it because of that full frame sensor. You're going to have better control over the depth of field, especially since I gave it an f2.8 lens. You're definitely going to see a slight difference. The color just seemed a little bit better outside of the box with the cameras. With the A9, A6000 was still very good, very sharp. Overall, very, very happy, as you can see in the examples. Now, as far as the autofocusing with the Sony a6000, I use autofocus continuous, lock on AF, nothing brand new. I focus on my subject, hold the shutter button halfway, and then I focus and recompose, so to speak, and then take my photograph and get the correct framing that I want. Usually it works, 90% of the time, as long as there's decent lighting, and I was very happy with the results. Autofocus did really good. You already know the story with the A9. That thing's a monster. It's a beast. Really, it demolished everything. Now, some issues with the Sony a6000. The EVF is not super, super bright, and so the A9 was much easier to shoot with when I had my eye up to it in direct sunlight, by the way. So I definitely should have brought the eye cup piece for my a6000. It would have made it much easier for me to actually see outdoors and shoot. But that's something I just want to point out. It's a little bit difficult to see in really blistering, direct, bright sunlight with the Sony a6000. Let's talk about another topic, which is buffer on the Sony a6000 and the A9. The a6000 really doesn't have the best buffer out there. And for something like what I was shooting, which was these people dancing in cultural performances, these are kind of scenarios where they're not going to do it again. And so your chances of getting a shot are very limited. And what I like to do is I like to get shots of different performers through and through. And so I'm kind of shooting very liberally as I'm out there. But here's what happens. While I'm shooting in RAW, and then the camera buffer fills up, and then I'm stuck and I can't shoot. So that's something I experienced with the a6000, especially in this type of environment. And that's probably something you're going to want to consider. Maybe even consider switching to JPEG if you need to get more shots fired right away. You already know the situation with the A9, very deep buffer, no problems at all, kept firing, really, really enjoyed it. I have nothing else to say about it. It's a monster, it's a beast, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. Fire, 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 and get the shots, and it happened, right? I got more winning shots with the A9 than I did with the a6000. Not saying the a6000 can't get winning shots or good shots. It's just it's much easier with the A9 because you can pretty much just pick whatever frame that you want if you're shooting at 20 frames per second. So for those of you out there, some advice and suggestions. If you absolutely need better buffer performance, then you may want to consider looking at the 6500 and even the Alpha 6300. But 6500 more because the buffer performance on that one is much better. Let's go over video. As far as the video quality with the Sony a6000 A9, you already know the a6000 is a 1080p camera, which actually isn't that bad at all. It goes up to 60 frames per second, and you can slow motion your footage about 40% of real time on a 24p timeline. So the slow motion is decent, and but when you compare it to something like the 120 frames per second on the A9 or even on the Alpha 6300, it is really night and day in my impression, and I absolutely love the rendering I get out of the other cameras at 120 frames per second, as you can see in the examples. It's not a knock on the 60p, it's still good if you want some general slow motion. You could probably tweak the slow motion a little bit more with After Effects to kind of simulate even slower slow motion with your Sony a6000. Alright, so here's my conclusion and sort of verdict with these two cameras. Again, we're not trying to say one's better than the other because it's pretty obvious which one's going to be the better camera. The point was to kind of talk to you about what you should do if you have a Sony a6000 right now as far as what lenses to think about. I really want you to start thinking about what things that you need to make you better at your work or better at your craft and to improve your photography. We started with the 55-210 when I shot in the downtown parade, and I was okay with the results. Now, if your shots were going into the web, Facebook, and they were going to be resized and made smaller, I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. Now, if your prints are going to be a little bit bigger and you want more detail and more sharpness, and if you're at that point, like let's say you're at that point, you want to get better quality, then you're definitely going to have to pay a little bit more to get those quality results. So the a6000 is no slouch, and that's what I want to point out. You pair it up with good glass, you're going to get some really good results. And that's pretty much the bottom line with this whole story that I've been trying to do, whether it makes sense at all. Folks, that's all I got for you in this video. If you found some value out of it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Check out my other content. And with that said, I'm your host, that one camera guy, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.